It's time for the Brown Sports Bag on WCLU, the official local sports show here in Glasgow and Barron County. And now, alongside John Butler, here is your host, James Brown.
Welcome back to the Brown Sports Bag, presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. James Brown and John Butler. We've been here all week. Well, we're here today, and we didn't go out of town last week. I didn't. Did you go out of town last week at all, John?
Is Lexington out of town?
I mean, it's not in Glasgow, but it's not Destin, Florida, or whatever.
I didn't leave the state.
Okay.
But I was in Lexington 2-3 days.
Yeah. So you took a mini trip to Lexington.
I did.
Okay. Well,
Yep.
Good. Did you go watch some softball while you were up there?
No, I've got family, and there's a place called Keeneland that I visited.
It's a place called Keeneland. Okay.
My family happens to live up there.
They're nearby, huh?
That's right.
Yeah, that works out all right
That's
for
right.
you. Well, we actually have some local sports action that's going to happen this week, and so far for us, it looks like it's going to work out because the weather looks pretty good for us this week. You know, not too far to the west of us, they look like they're going to have storms all week, and we could get some residual, I guess, as the week goes along. But right now, doesn't look like the forecast isn't for us to have any of the bad stuff. So hopefully, keep our fingers crossed on that. And then that means hopefully, as everybody has returned from their vacations, we can get in a lot of games this week because we got a lot on the schedule. So, I mean, starting right today, we've got games going on, this afternoon. In the high school baseball side, Barron County's at home today. They're hosting the Bluegrass Blazers homeschool team. I don't know anything about them as a baseball team, but and then they've got, I think, 2 more games or 3 more games maybe scheduled this week. Glasgow, they are, I believe, at Greenwood today, and then they host Caverna tomorrow, and we'll broadcast that game right here. And we're also tomorrow, so the baseball game will be on the 103.1 Scotty WCLU Blue Channel. And then tomorrow also we're going to have our first Barron County broadcast. We're going to broadcast the softball game when the Trojanettes host Greenwood. So that'll be on the 104.7 WCLU Burgundy. Joe Myers has got the Glasgow call. Jay Turner will be warming up his vocals again. I mean, he may have burned them out through all the regional and district basketball stuff he covered.
Yeah, well-deserved break.
Yeah, took him a month off, and yeah, you're right, well-deserved break because he burned some time there for about 3 weeks. So anyway, let's talk about the baseball first. The Trojans wrapped up their trip to Florida Friday with a win and a loss, and so they came back. I think they were 500 on that trip overall.
They played 6 games.
Yeah.
They are 8-7.
Uh-huh.
Both the Glasgow and Barron baseball teams, they have gotten a lot of games in.
Yes.
They had a lot of games scheduled, and normally you schedule a lot of games because of weather issues. You're going to have more games on your schedule because you have to factor in you're going to lose some games.
Right.
But they hadn't lost very many games, and Barron 8-7, 3-3 on their trip. And I tell you what, they, I'm not a big fan of going to Florida if you're just going to play Kentucky teams,
right?
Unless you're going to play Kentucky teams that you would never see,
right?
And I think that's kind of what both teams did. Barron lost to some heavy hitters. They lost to Madison Central, 11-5. Now Madison Central, up in the 11th region, they have been a perennial state power.
Yeah.
Have won state championships in baseball. Then they lost to Lexington Lafayette, another good baseball school, 8-3. Beat Bullitt Central 4-3. Bullitt Central's out of the 6th region. That's Shepherdsville. They've got a good baseball program. Knocked off Great Crossing. Great Crossing is Scott County.
Yeah.
One of the biggest schools in the state. 1-0. Skylar Potter went 8 innings in that game and got the win. Only allowed 2 hits. Lost to Montgomery County. They're out of the 10th region, 3-2, and then beat Henry County out of the 8th region, 15-0. So that's some pretty strong, heavy hitters up there. To be honest with you, they weren't dodging anybody. That's some pretty impressive group of teams that Barron played.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, I mean, it's not like they went down there and played the teams that they could just drive 30 minutes and play. They did play teams.
And they played.
Yeah.
So they went and played rather than going on basically a vacation. I mean, I've seen teams go down there and play 1 or 2 games. And you go, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, that's just kind of a vacation. But they went down and they played 6 games.
Yeah. I'm sure the parents grumble about it a little bit. They'd like a little more beach time, but I think they basically ended up with 3 days where they didn't have games, and so you could do whatever you want on those 3 days.
The parents can go to the beach.
Yeah, they don't have to go to the game, right?
They don't have to go to the game. They don't.
Yeah, you go take a vacation, you kids go play baseball. Sounds great.
That's exactly right.
But anyway, it was a good showing by the Trojans while they were in Florida, I think, overall. And you mentioned that 1-0 win over Great Crossing. I mean, that was a heck of a game. And I don't know if this is the rule for the season or if this is just something they were doing down there. They're using that international base runner rule where you get to the extra inning, you have the person start on second.
They do that in softball.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do that in baseball. They do it in the major leagues now.
Yeah, I was trying to remember if they had instituted that like for all regular season games because I just couldn't remember.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they do these off-season changes and I'll just miss one of them.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So
it's a little gimmicky, but if the pros can do it, well,
sure, why not?
Speeds it up.
Yeah, and so that's what happened in that game is Great Crossing actually got to bat first in the top of the 8th, and so they got their man on second, and then they got him to third, and Barron got out of the inning. They got their man on second to start with, made a substitution for their runner, and then got the winning run across. So that's how they won the game 1-0. And as you mentioned, I think it was a pitching duel, I believe, because I think Barron only had 2 hits in the game as well. So that would have been a heck of a game to watch if you like defense and good pitching, because Skylar Potter obviously had a great game on the mound in that game as well. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, the Scotties also played a bunch of teams that they wouldn't see otherwise while they were down there. I think they played 7 games total before it's all said and done.
6.
They got 6 as well.
They went 2-4.
2-4, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. They played 5. They went 2-3.
Yeah. Okay.
And they are 9-8 this year.
Yep.
They beat Carroll County out of the 8th region, 17-3. Lost to Cooper. Cooper's one of the best athletic schools in the state, 11-2. Defeated Western Hills. That's up next to Frankfort, 4-1. Lost to a private school out of Georgia, 12-6. Then lost to Muhlenberg County, 9-4.
Yeah. So played Muhlenberg's probably the closest team
right.
to our area that you could probably play in a day. But yeah, so I think Carter Hodges had an outstanding game, and one of those maybe it was against Carroll County. Maybe he had 15 strikeouts or something like that.
I believe that's right. Yeah, I mean he's 5-0. His ERA is like 1.18.
Yeah, when he's on the mound, they are dangerous.
Yeah, he's got 5 out of the 9 wins, and Peyton Limley's 2-1. He's got his ERA's under 3. So those appear to be the 2 top dogs for Glasgow in terms of being on the hill.
Yeah. Now, I will point out one game that they ended up losing, and I think the final, maybe it was the Cooper game that they lost. And no, it wasn't the Cooper game. It was the 11-5 game maybe that they lost. But Braylon Caldwell started. He had allowed 2 hits and no earned runs. They ended up losing that game. I think it was whichever one was 11-2.
None. There was a 12-6 game.
Maybe it's the 9-2 game.
There was a 9-4 game.
Okay. One of the sorry.
One of the games.
They lost.
Okay.
They could have won the game if not for the 8 unearned runs they gave up in the game. I think is what it worked out as.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And so they had one of those games down there where everything went incorrectly on defense, but the pitching wasn't terrible. It was just they just had one of those games, I guess, that you have. Maybe they got done with their beach time and they went out there and played the game. A little heat exhaustion maybe kind of situation.
Could be. Like you said, they've played a lot of games too. You're going to throw a stinker in occasionally.
Yeah. But anyway, so they get back. When you come back from that vacation, what do you think you're thinking of as a coach and when your team's coming back?
Well, they've played so many games. I'm a little surprised they're playing today. Both teams playing today.
Yeah.
I thought they may take today off, to be honest with you, but they're not. So they may be a little fatigued. I don't know if they're tired or not anymore. I mean, they're clearly their batting should be in good shape because hitting is all about rhythm and timing and so forth. There should be nothing wrong with that. It's whether or not who's left in terms of pitching. They've when you play every single day, that really uses your bullpen, and I know that. Of course, Glasgow's got that all A at the end of the week. I don't think they have. Neither team has district games this week, do they?
Not in baseball. Their district games, I believe, start next Monday when they start playing the doubleheaders.
Well, that's going to be interesting about whether what Glasgow, from the Glasgow perspective, what do you want to do this weekend in that LA?
Yeah.
If your district games are Monday and Tuesday?
I believe that's correct. I did the schedule earlier, but now I can't remember the dates of these things.
Okay. Because you would clearly, those games I would think are going to be more important than the AA. I know it's a state tournament, but I kind of put an asterisk next to it.
Let me check that real quick on the schedules, because like I said, I was working out I try to get our schedule set out like a month in advance so I know what we're covering and all that kind of jazz. But as I'm doing that, often my brain does not remember what the dates were. But that is correct. They start their district play next Monday at Allen County at 5:30. So they'll play that game there and then turn around the next night and play at Glasgow. So
yeah, well, we'll see. I don't know how they want to play it. I would think you'd want Hodges and Limley for your district, but
that's right.
For seeding. But playing in the 2A is they can't pitch both. I don't think you can pitch Saturday and come right back and pitch. I know you can't come back and pitch Monday or Tuesday if you go 7 innings or 6 innings.
The first game of that tournament is at 3:00 Friday against Johnson Central up at Apollo. So I guess
somebody could pitch Friday and come back Tuesday, I guess.
Yeah.
That's Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah, I guess
on your fourth day, it's possible.
But it, like you said, it depends on how important is this tournament to you versus the seeding in the district.
Right.
Because as we were just like we talked about last week, because of the way they do these district games now, where you play the back-to-back days, it gives it a more balanced outcome over the course of the 6 games.
Yeah, you can't pitch your best pitcher every time.
Yeah, so you might want to go up there and see what you can do, and then in that tournament, and then it doesn't, because in a way it doesn't matter. You want the district seeding, you want to win the district games, but does Monday matter more than Tuesday? I have no idea. You know what I mean? I guess this is a calculus baseball coaches need to work out in this situation. Coach Garman and his staff will have to work out. Barron doesn't face that same dilemma because they're not playing in the 2A. They just start next Monday at Warren East. I think it is. I think it's at Warren East next Monday in their district back-to-back games. So, I guess they're more maybe right now, maybe Barron's on that. This is the rest of the season rotation. Now we're trying to figure out, who's pitching each day and that kind of jazz.
You would play this week, setting yourself up for next Monday or Tuesday, pitching-wise.
Yeah, that's right. Anything else on the baseball side before we get to the softball?
No, nothing I can think of. It's, we're kind of, I guess, midway through the year, maybe.
Yeah,
close to it.
Yeah, I mean it's the district tournament starts May 18th, so we got 5 weeks.
Yeah, this is April 13th, so 5 weeks.
Anyway, so on the softball front, we talked about this before. Barron County just has not played a bunch of games. They've played 7 total games. Completely different than the baseball, but it's not because of weather. It's just that was the schedule to begin with, and then they took a week off. I'm sure they practiced, but that's not the same as getting in that game routine. And so now they play a district game today over at Warren East, and I think that's a fascinating situation for them to be in. I think to come off a week off and have a district game.
Yeah, it's. I think you would prefer to have played.
Yeah,
going into that because they're actually probably 9 days off.
Yeah,
since they last played or whatever. And I'm sure they practiced some, but traditionally, my mind says if you're not going to play during spring break, you're probably going to give them time off.
Yeah, they may have gone to Florida with the family.
I'm sure a lot of them did. Yeah. Knowing that, so if they practice, it's probably going to be Saturday, Sunday. I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. To be honest with you, it's hitting is about timing, and the more you play, it's better for your hitters for sure, and for your defense.
Right.
Get into that routine. I think pitching wise, it's fine.
Yeah.
You can probably freshen up and be fairly. I don't think that'll take long for the pitchers to catch up. I do think for the hitting, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, like I said, they have the district game today, and then they play Greenwood at home tomorrow, and then they play Greene County on Thursday, I think it is. So, it's 3 games this week scheduled, but I think it's 3 pretty interesting opponents for them.
Well, I know 2 of them are. Green's down.
Yeah, not the Green of old.
No.
And of course, then next week they play Bowling Green on Monday, and then we have the Barron Glasgow game. They play each other on the 21st, and then they have another district game on the Thursday after that against Allen County over at Allen County.
Right.
So, these next 2 weeks they're going to be playing a pretty hectic schedule compared to what they were playing before spring break, I'd say.
Well, it's time to get in that routine.
That's true. That's right. And then, of course, Glasgow, they are 3-5 at the moment. Their last game was a district game against Allen County Scottsville. They also didn't play since then, and they turn around and play. They don't play again until tomorrow. They play over at Edmonson County. So, and then Thursday they have a district game over at Warney. So I think it's pretty interesting, I guess, for both of our softball teams in terms of where they are. Neither one of them's played a bunch of games so far.
Yeah, I think, I know Allen played last week, and I think Allen is the best team so far. I think you could probably put Allen number one in the district.
Yeah.
And I think 2, 3, and 4 is up for grabs right now. I'll be honest with you. It's not real sure, where teams fit in that 2, 3, 4 slot.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of talked about that. East, Glasgow, and Barron all brought back their pitchers, but so did Allen. But in Barron's case, they lost some key hitting. And then in Warren East's case, they lost almost their entire offense from last year. But meanwhile, Glasgow brought back everybody, and then Kayla Kirkpatrick came back to play, and they're all a year older.
That's right.
So, you would think that gap would be closer than it had been in the last few years.
I think so.
Let's talk real quick about South Warren, who beat the number one team in the nation while they were on spring break. They beat Orange Beach, Alabama, 6-1. They still haven't lost a game. I think their closest game has been 6-2, maybe.
Yeah, almost all of them have been run rule.
Yeah, certainly against everybody in Kentucky.
Yeah, last time I saw McLean Hudson was sitting over 800.
Yeah, she's kind of killing it. I saw a thing where she was rated as like maybe one of the top 5 players in the nation.
Yeah, going to Florida State. Yep.
So they've been. We talked about this last week when we were on here. The only problem they have is they're so good, their schedule may not be strong enough. Now, they went down for spring break, and they've probably loaded up some teams that can play to try to maintain that schedule. But when in state, there's nobody close to them.
Didn't seem like. I mean, they've got 6 Division I signees.
Yeah.
I mean, from Florida State to Western to Ohio State. I think maybe one's either Missouri or Missouri State. I don't know, but they got 6 D1 players.
Right.
Which is incredible to think about. Yeah, I mean, their pitchers, their 2 starting pitchers are ERA or sub 1. I mean, it's hard to – anything can happen, when you get to the region or state tournament. I mean, Greenwood may be one of their better competitions they'll play all year.
Right.
But, even in the state tournament, it's a one-game – anybody can lose a game.
Right.
In baseball or softball.
And they kind of have the last couple of years.
They kind of have a little bit, but, man, they are a prohibited favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to go if you got nothing to do and you just want to go watch a softball team like none that you've seen in high school in this area.
The game's over in about 45 minutes.
Yeah. You can go grab a hot dog and a Coke, sit down, watch, spend a little time, get up, and you still have time to make maybe a matinee.
Right.
All right. Anything else on the spring sports stuff you can think of, John?
I don't think so.
All right. This is Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Welcome home to Local Sports with James Brown and the Brown Sports Bag on WCLU.
Welcome back to the Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. This is James Brown and John Butler. Tell you what, folks, here on this show, often we don't talk about the high school transfer portal a whole lot in terms of when it's happening and that kind of thing, because you just never know what's going to happen. And a lot of times people will tell me, hey, did you see so-and-so went here, so-and-so went there, or they played with this team during the summer and that kind of stuff. And my general response is, let's see if they're there when school starts. Because these things kind of happen a lot of times, and, they don't really amount to a whole much. But I was alerted to over the weekend that a prominent girls basketball player in the 4th region has signified that she's not going to be at the school where she's been for her entire career, and she's going to be at a different school for her senior year. And it kind of, I think, bleeds into another conversation John and I have had, especially over the last year, on this show when we were talking about the 5th Region boys basketball. And in, the 5th Region is kind of notorious for players just moving all around in that region and players coming from outside areas into the region to play. And this past year was another example of that, and it seems that's pretty – I don't know, it's almost the way you do business in boys basketball in the 5th Region.
Yeah, it seems like it's hard to win without it anymore. I mean, Adair, got the 1-2 straight. Now, their best player was Connor Lloyd from Adair.
Yeah.
But they got the 6'7" kid that came, I believe, from Collins.
Yeah.
Last year, Taylor wins it, and Taylor's best player was the guard from Greene County.
Yeah.
Cooper Stone.
Yep. So, I mean, you've got that. Then you got the Berry kid who moved into North Hardin. They also, Blakey moved from LaRue to Adair last year. Of course, you had Jason Graves and Gavin Lightning who moved to Caverna.
Right.
Last year was just kind of like there were a bunch of them at a bunch of different places.
Greene County had 2.
That's right. Greene had 2.
Lost 2.
Gained 2, lost 2.
That's right.
So, I mean, it's kind of almost a running joke on the boys basketball side in the 5th Region when you look up and say, well, who's going to be where this year? But it's not really been the case. You've had some movement in the 4th Region girls through the years. I mean, going back to when you were coaching, I mean, you had a couple of kids that moved to Barron.
I did.
And, Glasgow's had kids that moved there. People have moved, and they have.
Franklin got 2 transfers last year.
This year, yes. Yep. And so I guess what I'm getting at, I'm painting a picture that it's not rare for kids to move in or move between schools. What seems to be happening this year in the 4th Region is 2 things on the girls' side. One is players who, in this case, when I alluded to earlier, was Avery Morris, who has put on her Twitter account that she's at Metcalfe County. Now, I will say this. When I saw that it said Metcalfe County, I was like, why Metcalfe? Because, they lost their coach. Heidi Coleman has gone to take a college coaching job as an assistant. And so I could see why she might go there and play for a former Division I college basketball player, see what you can learn from that person. But we don't even know who the coach is at Metcalfe County. At least I've not seen anything that says who it's going to be. So it's surprising you just go to a program that does not have a coach. You right, John? Seemingly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the circumstances.
Yeah. But you just –
without knowing the circumstances, yeah. I mean, if that's true, I'd be – it's a little surprising if all this is true, not knowing the circumstances. But, in today's time, I guess it shouldn't be real surprising.
Yeah. I think sometimes my response to that maybe was the same as the people who saw Graves and Lightning go to Caverna and say, why would they go to Caverna? Which was not an uncommon thing for people to be saying. And as if going to Adair or Greene County is any different, but nonetheless. So that part was a little bit surprising for me. But then the other thing that kind of struck me as I was looking at that, because as you mentioned, Franklin had 2 kids who moved in. Now, one of them was also a junior. And I do know what Pennington's circumstance was her family does live in Franklin.
Right.
They have a business there, and she could have gone there as a sophomore from what I understood. So her moving there as a junior was not surprising. The other kid kind of came out of the blue as far as we could tell. But it's so you kind of have a situation where you have these juniors in this class that's, they're juniors right now. They'll be seniors next year on the girls' side in the 4th Region, who are going to be some of the best players in the region. And they'll be some of the better players in the state, right, really, when you get right down to it.
The junior class there's a real good junior class across the state.
Yes.
Including the 4th, but also in the 5th.
Yes.
Some good players across the state.
Yeah, it's a really, that 2027 class is a really good girls' basketball class in Kentucky. So maybe that's the other thing that's a little bit surprising is that somebody's going to move. Like you said, you don't know the circumstances. It could be family's got a job, something. Who knows?
That's right.
Why? I mean, that could be the case.
Yep.
So it's not that this is specifically a basketball thing that we're talking about. There could be other circumstances, but it is a fascinating basketball thing to talk about, I guess is one way to put it. But the other part of it that struck me was I realized how many girls basketball coaching positions are open in the 4th Region. And it dawned on me, I'm like, it's got to be really hard to be a basketball coach right now with the volatility that is going on in high school athletics of players moving from place to place. I mean, to that end, I think you can talk about that, John. I mean, that's got to be quite challenging.
Well, we know Metcalf's open, South Warren is open, Greenwood is open. Greenwood's got some good players too, by the way. Todd County Central is open. I think Clinton is open.
Yes.
I mean, Coach Abbott resigned with about 2 weeks left in the season last year.
Right. Yep.
And I think the person took over as an interim, I thought.
Yeah.
So I could be wrong. Obviously, Taylor County in the 5th is. You can make the argument it's the best job in the state.
Yeah.
With all their players back, with Player of the Year in Kennedy Diener.
Right.
The job. Manual job is open, and Manual's one of the better jobs in the state. But yeah, coaching basketball and high school basketball it is hard, and I do think it's one of the reasons why these jobs are continually becoming more and more open now. I coached 20 years, and Piper's up there now. She's at 12, I think, at Barron. But you don't see very many others who probably are more than 5 years. Maybe the girl from Cumberland County, she's probably been there a little bit. She's probably at her 8th or 9th year or whatever, but you just don't see it. And it's, there's pressure, there's player turnover, like what we're mentioning. It's expectations where when I first started coaching, you were not allowed to coach AAU. Mm-hmm. And now a lot of these coaches are AAU coaches.
Right.
So, they're coaching AAU year-round, and then it's part of the reason why sometimes you see transfers, too. They're AAU coach.
Yes.
And which is it used to be taboo. You couldn't do that.
Right.
So, and you're expected to coach, and, it's like I said the other day, I could probably, to this day, coach and do a fairly good job if you just let me do it from October to March. October, March,
right.
Let me go. I think I could handle that pretty well. But schools, parents, they want you there in the spring after school.
Yep.
They used to be illegal. They want you there at the start of the year. They used to be illegal. You could do conditioning, you couldn't do workouts.
Yeah.
All during the summer. And it's and the one thing that hasn't changed much is the salary.
Right.
It's still I'd say the average high school basketball coach makes $10,000. I'm just guessing. It's some are making more, some are making less, and it's just it's not easy dealing with a lot of the things that you have to deal with, and. I do think that I just noticed when I was getting close to getting out, the pressure sometimes from parents are higher. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons why is when I first started coaching back in the 90s or whatever, and when I grew up even, parents, the financial, I guess, investment that parents had in a player was, they'd buy you shoes and drop you off at the gym or park, and you played. And now, it's a lot different.
Yeah. The expectation then wasn't that you were going to go play.
With travel, the parents spend a fortune.
Oh, yeah.
On travel ball and AAU ball, and they travel everywhere.
Uh-huh.
So, they're almost more invested,
Yeah.
When you get that kid to high school, it's like, come on now, I've put all this into it. Why aren't they this good? Or why aren't they playing? And, And back when I first started, that really, we used to take them on we used to go to Lexington or wherever, and we'd put them on a bus. We used to go on a bus and take the team, and a lot of the parents said, "Hey, y'all take care of them. It's my vacation too." And
that's exactly right.
Most of them, some of them would drive up for the game, and some of them wouldn't. It's like, here, you got them.
They were like, "I got other things to do than go to these basketball games."
That's exactly right. Oh. So the whole dynamics is different. I'm not saying it's it's better. It's worse. I think it's harder on coaches.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible now. I coach basketball and softball.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, you had people who were assistant football coaches that were head baseball coaches.
Yep.
And in basketball coach, you may be the head basketball coach and assistant baseball coach. And now, unfortunately, time won't allow you to do that because every sport is year round. Mm-hmm. And I think you lose a lot of good coaches because of that. Sometimes your best baseball coach may be your assistant basketball coach.
Yep.
And now you, because of the time and things like that, and I wish there was a little bit of a. I wish we could go back a little bit. I think it would help everybody take a breath a little bit and so forth. It's nice to be able to work with your players some in the off season.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with open a gym and work on some shooting and things like that. But I do think we've probably are a little overstretched. How you bring something back. That's hard to do. Because I'll say this. Last thing I'll say is, if you're not practicing or doing enough after school at one school, then somebody's going to go, well, they're doing it over there.
That's
Why
right.
aren't you?
Yeah. And if you're not, then they might just go over there
or whatever, because that's because
Yeah.
the ability to transfer now is so much easier too. And
Right.
It's like, well, just because they're doing it didn't make it right or productive.
Right.
But it's sometimes it's perception.
I was one of the things you just mentioned that I had not really considered was the role of the coach who was an assistant in one sport and head in another. And the part I had not considered until you just mentioned this was the relationship that the coaches build with the players
Right.
that might play multiple sports.
That's right.
Or let's say you have a player who maybe didn't play multiple sports, but because they liked you and you were the assistant baseball coach, they're like, yeah, I'll play football, without really any intention of that being their sport. It's just a way that they like the environment they're in. And I hadn't really thought about that with the specialization of that I know that the parents push toward. I've always thought that was damaging because you don't know what sport a kid's going to be best at.
Right.
You don't know how they're going to grow, what they're physically going to be capable of. They may have great hand-eye coordination but not be very strong. So they may be good at one sport and not another one. You know what I mean? So, what their basic physical traits are might not really match up with the sport that they've decided to specialize in. So I always thought about that part. But the other part I always thought about the part that to be good, you want all your best athletes playing as many sports as they possibly can, because that's how, they're going to translate from sport to sport to sport. But I hadn't really thought about the relationships that also come from those coaches being around them
Right.
in different kinds of environments, because the role of a head coach is to manage and be the boss of that program. But if you get to be the assistant, you can be their friend here and be their boss and manager in a different
right.
sport.
That's correct.
And so that player, those kids get to know those people in a different way than they do just when that guy or that woman is the boss of the thing that they're participating in.
Absolutely right. Yep.
And so I think that's a thing that I'd never thought about it. I'm sure a lot of people have never considered that effect.
Yeah, and it's oftentimes schools are searching for quality coaches.
Oh, yeah.
Searching. And it's hard to find, to be honest with you, because you could used to find them on in your building.
Yeah.
But you don't have that many anymore because, like I said, very few people coach multiple sports.
Right.
But you could get one person. They could be an assistant in 2 or 3 sports or whatever.
Yeah.
You could have a lot of things solved, and you build relationships and so forth. And regretfully, that's kind of gone. So,
right.
And I don't know how to, once the genie's out of the bottle, I don't know how you put it back in. So that's the hard part. I do think there's a balance somewhere out there, but I don't know.
Well, the real collapse of that situation, 2 things. The collapse of coaches in multiple sports really probably started because also classroom demands changed.
Somewhat.
And so, you had more time that you had to dedicate to certain things in a classroom because of the stipulations there, which probably ate up time that used to be able to, you might have more free time to coach. But then the other thing was I think the real death of it came when the KHSA basically said to the schools, we're no longer going to set restrictions on the seasons, but we'll allow you to do so.
That's correct.
And the schools, none of them have set any kind of restrictions because nobody's going to be willing to make the parents of their district mad.
That's correct.
And so basically the KHSA just punted that to the schools.
Yeah, there's 2 weeks of dead period.
Yeah, and that's it.
That's it.
And otherwise, no matter what a coach tells you, they want to be successful and they want their best players to be in their program under their watchful eye as much time as they can possibly have. Because also there's a lot of pressure from the parents and probably administration of a school district, depending on where you are, to be successful as well.
Right.
So you it's a catch-22 if you don't operate like that, like you just said. If you're not doing it, somebody else is, and either your player, the parents are like, well, you need to do this too, or they're just like, well, we'll just take our kid there. And, it's the detriment is, again, like you said, we are probably losing a lot of quality people who should be coaching our student athletes. They're not doing it.
Yeah, and I think also the longevity of the coach, too, is like I said, I think today I could still do it from October to March.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do it year-round.
No.
I got other things I want to do and things like that. And I think a lot of coaches are that way, and that's why you don't see people doing it, 15, 18, 20 years anymore. It's hard. I mean, occasionally you'll find somebody, but for the most part, you don't see that. And it's not that it's a young man or young woman's game. I don't necessarily agree with that at all.
Right.
I think you can be my age and still coach or whatever, but the demands are they're up there and so forth. So it is what it is, and that's it's clearly the game is. I don't know how much the game has changed, but all the things that go with the game has clearly changed.
Yeah, the turkey's the same. The dressing's different.
That's correct.
All right, this is Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Welcome home to Local Sports with James Brown and the Brown Sports Bag on WCLU.
John, I'm sure you enjoyed some times when you were away from Keeneland watching the Masters.
I watched the Masters, yeah. Watched it yesterday for sure.
What do you think about Rory McIlroy winning back-to-back?
Well, that's a great accomplishment. I mean, there's only 4 golfers who've ever done that.
Yeah.
I think Tiger, Jack Nicklaus, and
Gary Player.
No. Nick Faldo.
Oh, okay.
And so that's, last year was the one that, that gave Roy the career Grand Slam. There's only, I think, a couple people have done that. Tiger and Jack, him, and maybe somebody else. I can't remember. But anyway, so to come back and win it again, he's been pretty quiet this year. He withdrew a couple weeks ago because of a back issue, and he really was outside of the Ryder Cup last year, kind of quiet after he won the Masters. Kind of threw it all into that. But he started off so hot. He had a 6-shot lead going into the third round, and did not play well the third round. I think he shot 1 over and brought the whole field back into it. He's only had a 2-shot lead going into the third round, and yesterday he lost the lead at one time.
Yeah,
early in the round he lost. He double bogeyed one of the earlier holes, and actually he got down 2 strokes, and then came back and won. And he was a little shaky there at the very end. He had it into the woods and had to scramble to come back to make bogey. He could have. He couldn't make double bogey. Would have tied with Scotty Scheffler. Now Scotty Scheffler was. McIlroy ended up 12 under. I think Scheffler was 11 under. The biggest deal with Scheffler, at one time he was down 12 strokes, and it would have been the largest comeback in tournament history.
Yeah,
and so he got it all the way back after not playing well. Really, the first 2 days, especially the second day, he played very poorly. So he kind of made a run at him. But other than that, Justin Rose who lost to McIlroy last year in the playoffs. Made a little bit of a run Sunday. I think he was in the lead there for a while, and then he really struggled in the middle of the round. And, the Masters is, by all indication, it's not the hardest in terms of the in terms of the field to win. Not all the top players are there. It's a small field. It's only like 70 or 80 golfers, and a lot of those are ex-champions who can't really play anymore. So it's not the elite of the elite per se. So it's a smaller field. It's still a great field. Don't get me wrong, but the prestige of winning there, the pressure is just so unique. It's the best tournament in the world. It's the golf course is beautiful to watch on TV, Augusta, and it's old school. Mm-hmm. I mean, they kicked out a golfer on Tuesday before the tournament started. Mark Cacavella, I forgot. Mark starts with a C. Cacavella. He a former champion.
Yeah.
Because he got caught with a cell phone.
Yeah.
And you're not allowed to
I
have a
saw
cell
that.
phone on and at the golf course. The patrons, and not fans, patrons, they
Yes.
call them, or golfers are and so it's a very unique tournament in terms of you don't see the rowdiness of other tournaments. You know,
Yeah.
people aren't hollering and screaming and cussing them and things like that. It's a very, very respectful crowd in a lot of ways. It's very fan friendly for the Europeans like McIlroy because you're not. McIlroy is well liked everywhere, but the Europeans in particular and the Japanese golfers are very well respected at the Masters because it's just how they host it. If you act rowdy there, they'll get rid of you in a heartbeat.
Right.
And there's no phones, so people are really into the golf.
Yeah.
And if you're watching the golf on the 18th hole and the leaders are on the 12th, the only way you know what's going on is to look at the leaderboard that they put up because you can't watch it on the phone. So it's a total different experience where the people are really, really kind of into only the golf.
Right.
They're not distracted and things like that.
Yeah.
The prices are cheap. The sandwiches are like $2.50.
Right.
They show the drinks like a Diet Coke is $2.
Yeah.
So it's
They don't need your money for the concessions. They just want you to be there.
It's in one sense it's kind of a country clubbish.
Yeah.
But in another sense it's kind of cool that to keep the prices down. And it's all about the event. It's about golf. It's not about all the other stuff that goes with all the other events. You can go to a baseball game and half the people are watching their phone, or you go to the football game and the people next to you are drunk and cussing out people and things like that. You don't. It's really.
You mean you don't enjoy the bleacher brawls at the football games?
I probably won't go back to a pro football game.
I tell you what,
and college football games are about that bad anymore.
Yeah.
So it's in a lot of ways it's pretty cool because there's kind of an old school approach to it where they keep the prices down and no phones. Where else can you go anymore other than federal court? Federal court or prison where you can't have a gun. I mean, you can't have a where you can't
or a gun
where you can't have a gun or a phone. I mean, it's amazing. You think about it.
Yeah.
Phones are allowed almost everywhere. But federal court, prison, and the Masters. That's it.
That's the first time comparison Masters and federal court and prison. But yes, they are all very much the same in that regard.
And I'll pick the Masters.
Yeah, I'd much rather be there than the other two.
Right.
Oh, yeah. No, it was a great win by McIlroy. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I've got a follow-up to your professional football statement there. This is Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Welcome home to Local Sports with James Brown and the Brown Sports Bag on WCLU.
Welcome back to the Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. James Brown, John Butler. John, have you been to a Louisville Football Club game at the soccer stadium in Louisville?
I have not. I watched some of it on TV, though.
Yeah. So now that I went to one of those games with my daughter, she likes to go to their games, and so we went to one of those. It's a lot of fun. But did you also know that there is a professional football team playing, and I don't mean soccer, I mean actual football team playing at that same stadium?
A professional football team.
Yeah.
Playing football.
At that soccer stadium.
That's what I'm talking about. The pro football team is the XFL, right?
Yeah, UFL, I guess is what they
UFL,
call
yeah.
it. Yeah, the Louisville Kings.
Right. Yeah, I watched it on TV.
Oh, you watched that?
Yes.
No, I was talking about the soccer team.
No, I didn't watch soccer. I watched the football game.
I was shocked that you would have watched the soccer
No, I watched
game.
the Fox. It was on Fox 1 or something. It was on. Yeah. Chris Redmond, the former Louisville football quarterback, is the head coach.
Yeah. Lucky Jackson's on the team.
Yes,
played
he
at
is.
WKU.
He's one of the receivers.
Benny Snell from UK plays there,
Yep.
foot running back.
Yep.
I think they have another former WKU team, but I can't player.
Right.
I can't remember who that is.
Yep.
So would you consider going to one of their games?
Probably not. Probably not. But it's. But yeah, I watched them on TV. Yeah. I think they're 0-3, but they've been competitive and everything.
Yeah. They figured out a way to lose every game. They are 0-3, but they have their games have actually been pretty good in terms of close.
Right.
Watching the sport itself is not like watching the NFL. The offenses are atrocious.
Well, what I like about it, though, from the TV production is you can hear both coordinators call the plays and so forth, and so they give you a lot more access to what's going on.
Yeah, that's true. You do have that. And the players, they'll chat and tell you what's going on too.
Right.
So it's as a fan access, it is pretty interesting in that way. Meanwhile, in the break, but we were discussing the fact that Michigan and UConn played in the national title game last Monday, and so much happened this last week.
It seemed like that was a month ago.
Doesn't it?
But Michigan finished off the year 69-63 against UConn. Really wasn't that close. Ended up being 6.
Yeah.
But I think Michigan was up 12 or 14 with about a minute and 10 seconds to go.
Yeah, they pretty much controlled the game.
They controlled the game and shot terribly. I think they were 30 of 19 from 3 and actually got out-rebounded by UConn, but still won easily.
Yeah.
It shows you how good they were.
Their defense, everybody they put in the game can defend you. And on top of that,
they're so big too.
Yeah, I mean there was nothing easy, and UConn didn't play that poorly. It's just that Michigan, earlier in the year they looked like they might be the best team in the nation, and then they had a little spell where maybe they were, maybe they weren't.
I think they lost 3 games.
Yeah. And then, but they closed out in the tournament. They really were the best team.
Yeah, they were, and all 5 stars were transfers.
Yeah.
I mean that's the modern game right now.
Yeah.
So they all came from different places and so forth. It is what it is, and that's they were all transferred in from various programs, and evidently, for sure, the coach made it a great job of going out and finding, because these weren't necessarily the elite of the elite transfers.
No.
But they ended up working well together, and he's pretty good at evidently of once he gets them, coaching them, but also finding players that fit parts and so forth.
Yeah, he knows what he wants, and he obviously does a good job scouting them before signing them.
That's correct.
He was at FAU before.
FAU, that's right. I couldn't think last week. I thought it was South Florida or whatever. It's FAU.
Yeah.
And did a good job. He first kind of cornered that.
Yeah.
And that's what got him the Michigan job, because he took FAU, I believe, to the Final Four, maybe?
I believe that's what it was.
That's right. So he clearly knows how to spot players and so forth.
Yeah. So heck of a talent, but good run. It's an interesting kind of situation with him and then Hurley at UConn, because Hurley brings in some freshmen, but he also is good at scouting the portal and finding what he needs to fit in what he wants to get done. So we're kind of seeing some coaches who have adjusted to that and are doing quite well at it. So it's pretty interesting time. Goes back to all the discussion about the change is also who's best at navigating the change.
Yeah, it's management. I mean, you got if you're going to play in a big market and you're going to use the transfer portal, and you can clearly use the portal to win it.
Yeah,
it's how you use your money to go get guys, and then you got to get them to buy in. That's what it comes down to.
The professional basketball league, that being the NCAA at the moment, and the NFL, probably nothing is more important than your scouting department these days.
That's correct.
Because if you scout them and you nail your scouting, they turn out pretty well for you. If you don't, it's a disaster.
That's right.
All right, it's the Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll talk to you guys next week.
You've been listening to the Brown Sports Bag on WCLU. Be sure to join James and John again next Monday at 4 for another edition of the Brown Sports Bag.